Hello and welcome to A Day with the Car Driver. I'm Scamp.
And I'm Day.
And what season are we covering?
Spring 2013.
Yes, continuing our look through the last decade in anime. And it's hard to begin with anything other than the one we've got listed right here at the top.
Well, the one you have listed right there at the top, I think might be a better characterization. Although even I would admit that you do have to at least give some due diligence here.
I think when looking back at the decade as a whole, this one might be sitting there at the top.
At least in terms of bigness.
Yes. Attack on Titan. I mean, you were pointing this out to me the other day, like, long before the anime came out. Like, this manga was a hit.
Massive.
In Japan, in the West as well.
Yeah, this thing sold, it's difficult to say with how jealously and closely guarded the secrets of the publishing industry are, but it might very well be that this is the best-selling manga ever in North America.
More than Sailor Moon.
That's a good question. Sailor Moon has gone through so many publication periods that, but it also wasn't available at all commercially for, 10, 12 years?
I remember when...
This has sold in a way that nothing else ever has.
One thing I always remember about Attack on Titan is when it was first, being reviewed and stuff, and people were looking at this thing as, it felt revolutionary in the sense of... the people who were talking about it, because the art was so ugly, it was the art of this thing is ugly. I guarantee he's really improved in later things, in later volumes.
Well, one would hope that over time, if someone... Well, look, if you draw that much, it'd be odd if you didn't improve at all, right?
Yeah. But there was something almost uniquely horrifying about it that made it really stick out far above everything else.
I just remember seeing displays for it at Barnes & Noble back in,
2010?
Maybe not that far. Well, maybe 2012, 2011?
Yeah. And then when they announced because obviously this was going to get made into an anime and obviously it was going to be a hit. But then the trailer came out.
Well, I'm sure that someone could have screwed it up horribly because history is littered with examples of absolutely mega hit series that then got atrocious adaptations to the screen.
But this was done by the newly formed WIT Studio, spin-off production IG, with the director of Death Note on it, who'd just come off Guilty Crown, so his stock wasn't particularly high at the time. And they put out the trailer, and that trailer got 1 million hits in no time on YouTube. And YouTube wasn't even quite as big back then as it is now. The trailer was an event. The whole thing was it was very clear. It was almost clear from the word go. It's oh, this thing is going to be huge. And then it came out and was huge. Because I was having this discussion with people the other day, was that because some people were like, how big was Attack on Titan really? There was a turning point at some point, and I think it was around the time Attack on Titan came out, where anime became more popular than it had ever been.
In the West, you mean?
In the West, yes. It reached a level of visibility, and the number of people talking about it, the number of people who said they watched it, the availability of it, which more fed back into it. But it felt like that catalyst was Attack on Titan. Naruto made Crunchyroll what it is. Attack on Titan helped anime blow up, and it helped anime blow up in a large part because it was on Crunchyroll.
Although I do think Attack on Titan is one of those shows that people who don't watch anything else have seen it. Yes. There's definitely that subset of its fandom.
In part because of how large it is, but I also think because it is shorter than your Naruto's of the world, there's a lot of I would hazard a guess that Attack on Titan is the gateway drug for most people this decade.
Oh, I don't know. Because here's the thing, though. You still have to know, up until fairly recently, you still had to know to find it, if that makes sense. Because it was on Crunchyroll. It's not like it was on a broader platform. For example, Netflix.
Was it ever put on Netflix?
I don't know that it ever has been on Netflix, but didn't it run on Toonami dubbed more recently.
Probably.
But it was a bit after it had already aired. My point being, I'm sure for some people it was a gateway drug. I'm a little skeptical as to how broadly so. Again, because you would have to have gone to a website specifically for anime in the first place, which would make it different from things that
you just bump into on
like
TV.
If you think of the old gateway drugs, they were mostly things that ran at some point on television. So people just happened to come across it.
I think it was the gateway drug for the people of the internet age, basically.
Maybe.
I think that people discover anime in different ways now.
Yeah. It's also worth pointing out that I think fandom's a lot more fragmented than it was, say, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh God, 15 years ago? How's it that long ago?
Yeah. Where...
You know, because I'm thinking of, like, I don't really see the, you know, like the big fights over, Naruto versus Bleach. Like, that kind of thing doesn't really happen so much anymore. Or put another way, your shonen hits that are similar to Bleach and Naruto of old, or even Dragon Ball, seem to not attract quite as much attention generally.
No, they don't, but they're still...
Or it seems like people are more equitably spread out across the longer-running shonen properties.
Yes. And they don't seem to interact, and also they tend to keep within themselves. Like the people who watch Fairy Tail, really seems like they only watch Fairy Tail.
You know, to be fair though, it's not like that I only watch this didn't exist back then.
Yeah.
Like Inuyasha, I think, is a classic example because holy hell, a lot of those folks never touched a single other show.
But I think that's what makes Attack on Titan important, is that the people would like hear about this show because it's a fairly easy sell due to how like is both Western-y style but also like highly unique and weird, that it would grab people in and put them into the anime ecosystem.
Well,
and then they would search out other things.
Zombie stories are popular.
Yeah, and it's vaguely zombie. It's also
I still swear that it's a zombie story.
I mean, I
basically.
swear. I mean, I think it's a mech anime. So
if your mechs are meat,
then they're
God,
not.
that's troubling.
Yeah, I'm a huge.
There are some mechs that are more meat-like.
Evangelion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I am a huge Attack on Titan fan.
I know.
And it's something that honestly, it's recently that it's like I was a big fan of the show when it came out originally, but I mean, if you're listening to this now, we're at season 3 is probably ended now, and season 3 has been incredible. Really, really enjoying it. Probably the best the show has ever been. So, and in a way, it has highlighted that it has its own world. It's really detailed, really goes into detail on all these different things they think about each thing they put into the world. I've heard it gets more fascist later on. I've read a lot of those criticisms. I do think that a lot of them are saying that this is how do I put it? It uses the imagery and it builds a fascist society and then says why it is bad. Which I feel like a lot of people are missing, but I don't know if that's because it changes later on in the manga.
Well, I also don't think it helps that the author has been known to express, harder core nationalist sentiments. So I think some folks are probably just inclined to not give him the benefit of the doubt given that.
I can see that. Maybe they changed with the anime as well.
Yeah,
because that does
possible.
Happen.
Even fairly faithful adaptations can do things like change some of the visual symbolism and such in a way that tamps that down.
I think the best example of that from this decade is like Made in Abyss. Cut out a lot of the more skeevy content, I guess you'd call it. Like Made in Abyss made the manga was a bit like, there's a lot of child nudity here.
I also think a lot of times with anime this is getting away from the point a bit, but it's interesting how much more agency characters have when you give them voice actors. I'll give an example of that. What's it called? Bloom Into You.
Oh, yeah.
one of the common criticisms of the manga was, gee, the lead just doesn't really seem to stand up for herself ever. She just kind of lets things happen to her. And I'd read the first volume of it. I don't like the series at all, but watching the anime, I did find, just giving her a voice makes her feel like a much more active participant in her own life than she was without one.
Yeah.
So, but that's... I guess my point was giving the characters in Made in Abyss voices makes them seem much more...
Asian, active in their own roles.
Yeah, but...
Yeah. So Attack on Titan, arguably the biggest anime of the entire decade. There's an argument for Love Live, I can definitely see that.
God, it's kind of not a... The differences between the two properties and the way that they've been developed is such that I'm ill at ease comparing them.
Yes.
Because one's a multimedia thing with a lot of fan interaction, and the other one is, the manga and the anime, and there's been some novels, I think. So they're very, very different properties.
There's video games as well. For Attack on Titan, which I've seen. Which, it's always weird to see someone new interact with Attack on Titan and just go like, these are just giant naked people everywhere.
Although if we're thinking about it, if we're talking influential, I think Love Live wins that one.
Yes, I think on a purely...
Love Live is probably one of the most influential of the decade.
Yeah. For
better or worse.
I think Reach is where Attack on Titan beats it out. Yeah, but...
Again, it's hard to compare them.
Yeah.
Because So different approaches.
That's Attack on Titan. I love the show.
I've seen one episode. I don't like zombie stories. And as I said before, Attack on Titan seems pretty clearly a zombie story to me, so it's not really my bag.
Yeah. Pretty violent.
It's not the violence, I mean... Excuse me, I read Axe. Thank you. That manga that got cancelled for being too violent.
One thing I like about Attack on Titan is the Titans themselves. 90% of the time they're hilarious, and then 10% of the time they are horrifying. They get that barrier of like, something you just watch and like, that's the most ridiculous thing, and Jesus Christ, what... It's like every now and then there'll be that one shot that's like, well, I'm seeing that in my nightmares, and everything else is like, I am laughing at this for being ridiculous. It is.
It suddenly makes me think of, okay, we're going way out there on this one. The Nickelodeon animated series, The Angry Beavers. Okay. There's this one episode where they watch a horror movie. It's about two brothers who are beavers, and their wacky stuff.
My favorite anime from this season, yes.
Well, they watch a horror movie in one of it, and afterwards they're both like kind of freaked out, but they don't want to let on to each other because they're brothers, so inevitably they're also really into, taking digs at each other and being little shits to each other. But it's like squeedily spooch, and it's actually kind of horrible because it's basically a sack of flesh with one finger, and it crawls across the ground that way. Anyway, Attack on Titan makes me think of that.
That's the
because I've seen pictures of some of the Titans.
That's the thing from the end of season 2 where the Titan is so big it can't pick itself up, so it just grabs the ground and just pulls it along by its face. And when it actually finally does lift its head, its like entire face has been ripped off.
Well, Squealy
and then they chuck dynamite in there, and it's awesome.
Well, Squealy Spooch doesn't have flesh ripping off; it just like crawls along the ground. It's actually kind of horrible when you think about it.
That makes it sound like
even as a kid, it bothered me a little.
That makes it sound like a Courage the Cowardly Dog episode. Courage the Cowardly Dog is my favorite anime.
I mean, it's possible there's some cross-pollination there.
Maybe. Anyway, that's Attack on Titan. God, we went off.
Squeedly Spooch. Oh, God, now I'm going to think about it. Anyway.
Think about Titans instead.
Pissa. Let's talk about the other...
Just imagine the Squeedly Spooch like poking over a wall and saying, that day Beaver kind received a grim reminder.
Great, now we're going to have to get someone to actually make that an image. Anyway...
So
there were also some big light novel adaptations this season.
Quite a good season for our light novel adaptations.
If you're into that sort of thing.
If you're into that, though, admittedly. So I did like the early episodes of Hataraku Mausama.
Isn't this like the Demon Lord is the Devil is a part-timer?
Devil is a part-timer. The Demon Lord comes to another world and then...
Yeah, the early episodes actually are decent.
Yeah, he has to work at McDonald's. Or McDonald's as they call it.
And so then he's having to get used to...
Yeah.
He also doesn't have his powers, does he?
Yeah, no.
Anyway, and then he is a house husband.
Yes. Yes, he does.
And then the hero follows them and is like, I'm gonna kill you! And then it turns out, oh wait, I have no powers, and oh my god, now I need a minimum wage job too.
So they all work in McDonald's together.
Yeah, the early bits are fine. It's just, it gets a little more...
I like to think of it as this happens to a number of light novels, and I imagine it would happen to manga as well, but it's really noticeable with light novels is they write the first volume because they have a great idea and it works. And then after that, they're like, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to tread water, I guess.
Bleach.
Well, yeah, Bleach. But light novels specifically, you can tell because it's like the first 3-4 episodes will be really good, and then after that, it will just tread water.
Yeah.
And that's really noticeable.
Or I think of them as getting more light novel-y.
Yeah, that's too.
As they tread water, you usually have two options. Either they just keep recycling what they've been doing and not really adding anything new to it, or they decide, okay, well, I'm going to do what these other light novels do, so they all just kind of turn into a puddle of goo that's totally indistinguishable from each other.
But yeah, like, I actually would quite... I'd be a good recommendation for like just an afternoon, sit down and watch like 5 episodes of Hataraku Mousami. You'll have a good time.
Then there's the other one which I really, really, really don't dig, and I think you really, really didn't dig it either. That was the one that was translated as like Love-Com Snafu. My teen love comedy.
My teen love comedy Snafu or something like that.
Yeah.
Origairu, as it is called when you're using the portmanteau. So this is
Catcher in the Rye, the anime.
Yeah, it is.
I hated Catcher in the Rye, so it didn't work for me.
Same here. I think this is what made me realize... Because there are a lot of people who really like the Monogatari series who are really into Origairu as well.
This is also a genuinely big series.
Oh yeah, it was.
It got a sequel further down the line, and I know this is one that a lot of people too will point to as a good show and one that
means a lot to them as well.
Yeah, and it's worthwhile, and not just as a something you watched when you got home from work and it was a bit of fun, then you forgot about it, but something that people felt like was really meaningful. Yeah. And I'm sure it is for some folks. A lot
of people say Catcher in the Rye was really meaningful. It's Catcher in the Rye.
You know what? I actually am going to say I think it's worse in a way. I think it's worse than Catcher in the Rye.
Okay.
Because you have more than one character, and whereas I will grant this, it's not like Catcher in the Rye thinks that its lead is a good person.
Yeah.
Or is doing the right thing. Whereas I would argue that you have characters in Love-Com Snafu who are looking at each other and validating some of their crappy attributes.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, the show is very critical of them. But
I really also disliked how, because I watched a few episodes of it, and I hated how it treated... There was one, they start with 3 kids. There's a guy, there's 2 girls.
Yeah.
And one of the girls, she's clearly not particularly bright.
Yeah.
And the 2 other characters, they're not nice to her. They're really shitty to her. And I really disliked that. That rubbed me totally the wrong way.
Yeah.
I hate characters like that. And I don't want you to ask me to sympathize with characters like that.
Yeah.
It's shitty.
They are supposed to be terrible people, but yeah. It felt like it... Yeah, and not only was it a big deal, but like the people who wrote this and people who worked on this, like as a result of this thing's success, get more projects, get more anime. It's like it was a really big deal. Yeah.
Well, we also know in a sense we know it's a big deal in that we just had another light novel adaptation that was basically trying to ape the same story.
Oh, the one about Bunny Girl Senpai.
Rascal does not dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. Oh my god. Talk about a localization name that the Japanese side of the house was like, no, this is how we're going to do it.
I mean, Attack on Titan was come up by...
okay, but that's good. That's fantastic.
It's stupid. Attack on Titan is a silly name.
That name is great.
It makes no sense.
So why not?
Well, they're not are they attacking on the Titan? I guess they jump up on them.
Well, you do attacks on things.
But are you attacking on one Titan? Attack on Titans?
Well, that's why it's not Attack on the Titan. I think it's a great name.
Anyway.
It sticks out.
Yeah, it does. But it sticks out in a Japanese person.
Whereas I think Bunny Girl Senpai or whatever it is, I just think that's bad.
Yeah.
Actually, I had a rare moment of, I can talk about when we get to Bunny Girl Senpai.
Yeah.
Let's move along.
That's a long time away.
Oh, yeah.
2018 or something. Anyway, that's kind of the biggest stuff in this season. We can move on to some...
there were some ones that did decently, but were maybe more flash in the pan, like Gargantia and Valvrave. Oh, yeah.
So Gargantia was the first of the well, no, it wasn't, because Psychopaths came out before this. It was the first sign that maybe putting Butch Gen's name on a thing was not a good thing. I think it's probably maybe the best way. So Butch Gen came off of Psychopaths and Madoka, and technically Phase Zero as well, with his name stock being incredibly high. Out comes Gargantia, which he supposedly wrote. Turned out he only wrote like the first episode and the last episode. First episode is quite good, and then the thing just flumps about.
So this is... because I have not heard anyone talk about this in a while, and I don't think it's something that people go back to.
No.
The premise is basically, it's on this water planet, isn't it?
Yep.
I don't know anything else about it.
Our main character is... He's like from a hyper-militaristic... He's in a hyper-militaristic society. He's a soldier. He crashes down on this planet after having to escape from a battle. And then he's on this he's trying to make his robot work and stuff. It's actually a really cool piece of science fiction.
Isn't it a bit Orientalist, though? Which I know sounds a bit strange when we're talking about something made by people who would have historically been considered the Orient. But actually, having said that...
Because it's not aping off a specific Orient, I don't think so. They are clearly alien society.
Maybe it is an Orientalist. Actually, colonialist might be the better way of putting it. Because if you think about it, he's coming from this very, technological, forward, blah, blah, blah. And then he ends up in this much more primitive world where people are like, oh, our lives are better and we're happy because we're not doing all that stuff.
I mean, if you want to say it's a bit white saviour-y.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, that's kind of a colonialist trope.
Yes. I could definitely argue that. I don't think that's what makes it bad.
I'm just saying, it only just occurred to me that's...
Yeah. I mean, the fact that we neither of us thought of this and both of us think it. You never saw it.
But I never watched it. I just saw people blogging about it. See, I don't do this as much anymore, but that used to be a way that I consumed shows, in a sense, was I would read other people's blogging of it. Yeah.
But as someone who, so I'm the resident Butch Gen apologist here.
Yep.
So obviously I was very excited. And it has a cool premise.
Oh, we're going to quote books at each other.
That's a good show. Gargantia, it just got...
It's probably not the worst thing his name was attached to, though.
It had enough neat ideas for me to be like... I'm disappointed this didn't turn out as well as it did, but I was like, I'll watch more by this guy.
Now I'm wondering what is probably the worst thing his name was attached to.
Expelled from Paradise.
Really?
And he wrote all of that. There was no excuse for Expelled from
Paradise. Because Blast Raider was pretty bad.
Okay, I haven't seen Blast Raider. But Expelled from Paradise is awful, and it's because he definitely wrote the whole thing that I am way more critical of that just being absolute shite. But you also brought up Valvrave.
Oh, yes. Other things that are shite.
Boy, that was shite.
Sunrise was clearly hoping that this would end up being bigger than it was.
They were hoping they were...
I mean, it did respectably at the time, but it's not like people watch this now.
They were trying to find the next Code Geass, basically.
Well, or...
the next mech franchise.
Yeah.
But Code Geass is just basically their last one that has been huge.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they just, at this point... When was the last time they tried making a new mech? Not Gundam.
God, no idea. Now that you said it, it's whatever.
Because after this, they did...
they had Love Live.
Well, but that's not a mech show. I'm talking about mech stuff. Well, you mean Idolmaster Xenoglossia?
They did Sacred 7.
Was that a mech show?
It was more of a mech suit.
Well, they did, what was the name of that stupid shitty show? Buddy Complex.
Oh God.
Yeah, which that went nowhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, Valvrave.
They were constantly trying to get Lightning to strike twice by being very overdramatic in the same way Code Geass was, but lacked any of the Code Geass's charisma, basically.
Well, and also, I mean, I haven't seen Code Geass, but the TV series also contains a fair bit of levity, does it not?
Yes. I mean, these
and
ones...
I would argue that the problem is that a lot of these ones they tried later just didn't have that.
I think they had...
I don't think Valvrave is... Valvrave made a lot out of the fact that it killed one of the characters in, like, episode 3, and you saw the blood floating all over the place in Zero Gravity. That's when I dropped it, because I was like, man, fuck this show. This is so stupid.
The show's very stupid.
This show is...
It had space vampires, I remember that.
I mean, that part was great, and I'm always a fan of somewhat malevolent mechs. Like, mech that have their own operating system that really is not that friendly to the user. Love that shit. This had that, but... And yeah, they end up as vampires because, like, basically you have to be a vampire to pilot the mechs. So, yeah, they end up as vampires. They're basically vampires. They're not actually called vampires. Yeah. This also is really sexist.
Oh, yeah.
Like, really, really sexist. We're talking, the kids have taken over, the space colony or whatever the hell it is because the adults have all, I forget what they've done. I don't remember enough of it to say, and they end up getting crushed because of course they do. But they're having like, the kids are having fun. They're all young teenagers and look what they're doing. And we're looking at tableaus of things like, the boys are drawing dirty pictures with chalk. The girls are trying on wedding dresses. And it's like, yeah, because that's totally what they both went out to do first thing? Really?
That's not... So basically what you're saying is it's no Infinite Revias.
No, Macross 7.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just space vampires.
Actually, we might as well finish off the, mech trilogy that was this season. Because there was, this was before anime... the anime producers realized that no one watched mech shows anymore.
I mean, you still we're getting another one, we're getting a mech show this summer, for example.
That's the one with the girl,
the flamenco one.
Yeah, no one's gonna watch that.
Some people will watch it.
I will guarantee you that's not. Anyway, Majestic Prince.
But you're saying that, but that's not really so much what you were... But I'm pointing out that someone must be watching some of these for them to keep getting made.
I guess so. Anyway, Majestic Prince, which was the one with the character designs by the guy who did the character designs for, Infinite Revias, but more famously,
Gundam
Seed. I know a lot of people who are really into this show, but...
Yeah.
I
watched a few episodes and the cast just did nothing for me.
Same here. It's alright. I don't know.
The cast seemed very... Well, they were all stereotypes.
Yeah.
And they didn't really seem to go past that. You have the glasses guy who's kind of pervy. You have the really sweet, sincere girl with big tits.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know. But maybe someday I'll go back to it because people do really dig it.
Yeah.
You know what other designs he did?
What?
Didn't he do this designs for Fafnir?
Yes, I was just about to say.
I mean, if we're talking about franchises that continue to chug along.
Yeah.
I don't get that one at all, but...
So to rewind back, there were a bunch of movies this season. A lot of movies, actually. And you watched...
Well, no OVAs.
Movies and OVAs. Yeah, because you've watched most of these, more than me.
No, I've only seen 2 of them.
Oh, well, they were the 2 I was talking about. You've seen How?
Oh, I thought you were talking about all of these movies.
Well, you've seen...
We have a list of several movies here.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I watched Hal and Garden of Words on the same day.
Oh, yeah, both
I
these
had
came
called
out.
in sick to work.
Oh.
I was not sick.
Oh, really?
I just didn't feel like dealing with the shit at work.
So you just watch anime all day?
Yeah, Garden of Words had come in the mail, and I worked in a place at that time where there was one day of the week that was always horrible, and it was that day of the week, and I just couldn't work myself up to it, so I called in sick.
And decided, I'm going to watch the Makoto Shinkai.
Yeah. So I don't remember which one I watched first, but I did watch both of them in the same day. I like Garden of Words more, and I think it's a better work than Hal is. Hal's pretty solid, but things unravel a fair bit in the final frame, such that there's a story detail that gets revealed toward the end that is rather like, whoa, holy crap, wait, that's okay, that completely changes the way I look at this. But it goes in tandem with this, like, move toward making it more thriller-like, which just doesn't work.
Because it's a romance.
It's a romance. It's also about grief. Because it's about a young woman who is, she's very grieved because her fiancé I can't remember if he's the boyfriend or fiancé, was killed in a plane crash. And she's been in this gloomy state ever since. And she is, her grandfather, I think, gives her, well, basically it's like, okay, let's take this robot. We're going to cheer you up. And it's this robot who's very lifelike and is an attractive man who also happens to look a lot like her dead fiancé. And she's really, really resistant to that at first, but they warm to each other. And so yes, it's a romance, but it's also about grief and how people work through grief. And it's got a little bit of science fiction in the mix too.
Ah, so it's Chobits. Again,
it's pretty solid for most of it. It's just in the final, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, it tries to do a thing with the robot that just doesn't really work.
It's one of those like Usual Suspects or Fight Club, where they just want some final twist to mess your entire understanding of the story.
Well, but the final twist is fine. It's just that they also introduce these thriller-like aspects with it that have to do with basically trying to steal a robot, and it doesn't fit with anything else that comes before it.
And Garden of Words, is it about star-crossed lovers who never get to see each other?
No, they get to see each other every day.
God, that doesn't sound like Makoto Shinkai at all.
It's just, it turns out, though, that one of them is a teacher who has quit her job, and the other one's a high school boy who wants to design shoes.
Yeah.
I like it. It's actually probably my favorite Shinkai. Because, I don't know. It worked really well for me. I like the visuals in it because it's, Shinkai's really into doing the floral, sunny burst type stuff.
Yes, I do like that.
A lot of this is rainy, so it was nice to see something that was a little bit different from his usual. Also, too, because, one of the characters is an adult, and her issues are adult issues. They're issues that anybody could have, but in her case, it is an adult circumstance.
Yeah.
She quit her job because basically her students were so horrible she couldn't deal with it. And she doesn't know what to do with herself now. And that's why she keeps going to the park every day. And the high school boy sees her because he's gone to the park to cut class. And he's like, ooh, I like her shoes. And he starts drawing her feet, and then he's like, wait, this might be kind of creepy. Yeah.
Is it a fairly short movie?
Oh, is it like half an hour maybe?
Oh, really?
Maybe
That's
40
short.
minutes?
Okay.
It's not super lengthy.
I saw the movie Saint Young Men, which is a fairly, reasonably infamous is maybe too harsh, but a lot of people have heard of the manga because it is the one about Jesus and Buddha hanging out together.
They're roommates.
Roomies. Just doing shit together. And it's by the author of Our Car Under the Bridge, so I was quite excited about it. The plot description is very ridiculous, very instantly eye-catching, and I'm a big fan of Our Car. It is for the first 10 minutes, you're like, this is very unique and amusing and so on. Look at these two, because hey, Jesus and Buddha, guess what? They're quite nice people, and that's actually kind of fun to watch, particularly as they panic over minor things there's in the park, and these girls said I look like Johnny Depp, and Buddha's vaguely jealous of him. Really? it's and how Jesus is browsing the internet and sets up his own webpage, and how Buddha's trying to sort out fights in the grocery store over apples and stuff, and it's It's fun. The problem is then it then kind of does nothing more beyond that, and as an entire movie, it's like, okay.
Well, I mean, it is basically slice of life with
Yeah.
a little bit of humor.
Yeah, so it's like after 10 minutes, it was like, okay, I've kind of seen the joke now.
You know, it probably works better in manga form because
Yeah.
you can pace it as you wish.
Yeah, I would maybe agree with that because it's a very
And hey, folks, now it finally is in English because
shockingly.
for ages this was not getting licensed basically because no English language publisher. Well, you know what though? It was the Japanese side too.
Yeah.
The author didn't want it licensed in the West because she just figured that it would not go over well.
She was terrified of what would happen with it.
Yeah.
Because it's not like it's not blasphemous or anything.
No.
As I said, they're very nice people. Turns out Jesus and Buddha are very nice people.
So that was one of the ones that you'd hear.
Yeah.
People would bring it up as like, man, wouldn't it be great if this was licensed? While also saying, oh, it's never going to happen. Well, guess what, folks? It has. So you can check it out if you want.
I also saw the Steins Gate movie, which is pretty bleh. Don't watch the Steins Gate movie. Turns out if you take Okurin out of the story, it instantly loses most of its appeal. There's also, there's not much else. Oh yeah, the Ghost in the Shell Arise series, which I liked at the time. I like the new Red Tachikomas. I've forgotten everything about it. I forgot everything, and I remember liking it, but I think because no one else talks about it. That's part of the reason why I forgot about it. I think it's good. I think Ghost in the Shell Arise is good. I just don't remember why. I'm sorry.
Isn't that like saying...
Yes.
If it was really that good, wouldn't you remember?
Yes.
Then again, this was 6 years ago.
I think I even saw it more recently than that.
Oh, but you're not sure.
Yes.
This is a ringing endorsement.
No, I know. I tell you what I would like to not give a ringing endorsement to is I helped fund the Kickstarter for Kickheart.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about something else because I was going to point out that I also helped fund the Kickstarter for Kickheart.
Oh, you did as well?
Yes, even though I'm not really a Yuasa fan. This is Masaki Yuasa again. He of Tatami Galaxy and...
Kaiba. More recently, Devilman Crybaby.
Oh yeah, I guess that's how... I guess that's a lot of people who are listening to this might know him. Yes, I also contributed, not because I'm a fan of his, but because I was interested in Kickstart being a potential funding means for anime.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that I funded it. I actually never watched it.
So I got the DVD and then watched it, and I thought it was kind of shite. Turns out that, and I've learned this increasingly about Yuasa over time, is that if no one's there to rein him in, I think he's weird and not very interesting to watch because it's like, oh, you're just a perv. But like not in an interesting way. Like you could be interestingly pervy.
Oh, you mean like
you can
says the guy who's into a Monogatari.
You can.
Well, that's pervy in an interesting way,
yes,
isn't it?
I just don't find what he's saying very interesting, and there's parts of his art style I like and parts of it I don't. But yeah, I just thought Kickheart was bland and didn't really do much.
Isn't that too bad? Because I feel like it should have.
Yeah.
It's basically a luchador story.
Yeah, but it's basically a luchador story about a guy who likes being beaten up by a sexy lady.
Yeah.
And just, I found it was
which is disappointing because his visual style, especially his penchant for bright colors, I think suits that kind of story well, but it doesn't sound like it was any good. That's too bad.
Yeah. Anyway, that's most of the interesting stuff. There's a whole bunch of TV series. You watched or read Carnival?
I watched all Carnival.
Yes.
Speaking of bright colors, this is very brightly colored. And I would say that's primarily what I liked about it. The visuals are very bright and colorful. There's some interesting design choices. It's not a very good series. It ends at the point basically where the story looks like it's going to take off.
And then doesn't.
It ends.
Oh.
It stops.
That's disappointing.
And it never got a sequel, so that was it. And to be honest, though, I've read a decent chunk of the manga. When I said it seems like it's going to start. It doesn't in the manga. So it's not, because I thought watching it, I wondered if it was not a great adaptation, and it turns out the original story actually isn't that good either, which is disappointing because, as I said, the colorful stuff I really like it. You don't get color palettes like that aren't super common in anime. It's,
JoJo's.
brighter. It's not as dark.
Oh, even
I think of and I mean that in terms of color, not content. It's, like electric or pastel bright colors, whereas JoJo's is more like intense dark colors, if that makes sense. So I can't really recommend Carnival.
Probably one of the most fascinating anime that came out this season was the anime adaptation of Flowers of Evil. Definitely one of the weirdest.
Very divisive.
Just putting it
also, they canceled the DVD release, didn't they? Because it only, I want to say there were only 20-something pre-orders.
It was very, very low. They did put it out eventually. I did know that.
Yeah, but they did it as a bundle.
Flowers of Evil was a very highly regarded manga, and I read the manga and thought it was excellent. That's a kind of a gradually spiral out of control teenage life of, how would you describe it? Really shitty human beings.
Terrible teens. Being terrible to each other.
Very self-destructive, I think is a good way to describe them.
Terrible teens being terrible to each other is accurate, except it's not. It's a little, that simplifies it a fair bit.
Yeah, they're quite self-hatey.
It's not terrible teens being terrible to each other in the way that Love, Snafu is.
No, it is. It definitely feels like quite a powerful piece, but also like a piece that you read and you're like, God, these people. It feels sort of like what something. Well, who's the author who does like Ayasumi Pun Pun and stuff like that?
Oh,
Solonin.
Yeah, great. Now I'm not going to be able to think of his name. One sec. I have Solonin at hand. Inio Asano.
Yes. So it reminds you of his work. So yeah, when they weren't putting out any like trailers or anything, or even promo art for it, apart from like one of a big freaky eye plant thing.
Yeah.
And then the first episode comes out. And bear in mind, this is by the director of like Mushishi and Detroit Metal City. I've forgotten his name, but yeah, he's a celebrated director, ex-Studio 4 Degrees guy. And then the first episode come out, and it was rotoscoped animation style, which is not exactly unheard of, because things like Kids on the Slope use rotoscoping for the music playing, for example.
It is less common that the entire show is rotoscoped.
Yes. And it looked ugly as all hell.
Yeah.
Intentionally.
But it still upset folks.
Yeah. It was like one of those ones I kind of gave the benefit of the doubt at the start, but by the end, like what killed it for me was less the animation style, which I honestly didn't like. I think it's a bad use of rotoscoping. But honestly, what killed it for me was the pacing. I felt like it was the kind of show that would really benefit from never letting up. And this show was only letting up. It would have a moment, and then there would be scenes where they just walk home for 5 minutes. And it's like, I felt like it was a show that would benefit from just never letting you breathe with the just oppressive, relentless nature. That's how I read the manga, and it was like, it really left an impact on me. I mean, I didn't read that far, but I felt like that was a better way to experience the show. So like, you cut what they put in Flowers of Evil down to 4 episodes rather than the 12 it ran in. And then it ended with the final episode with here's all things that come later, and then it never got a sequel, because of course it didn't.
Yeah, like I said.
Yeah.
The pre-orders were so bad they canceled individual disc releases. They did it as a set.
Yeah. A lot of people did like it in the West, but it felt like...
People who liked it seemed to... They loved it. But there weren't a lot of them.
No.
Most people were really turned off by the visuals, primarily, I think.
Yeah. Although it did leave us with that ending song that they had for it.
Oh, something Psycho.
Saidayo. I will continue to remember that song. God, it's going to be difficult to pick the ending song for this episode. Are we going to pick the Anata Saito or are we going to pick the Attack on Titan opening?
I was actually... We didn't mention in talking about Valvrave that TM Revolution did the OPs.
Yes!
And...
They're quite good.
They're fine.
They're fine, yeah.
They're very Sunrise,
yes.
as I tend to think of it. Very Sunrise mech. And I suppose too... that was part of what was, oh, look, we got TM Revolution, who everyone loves. So pointing out that it was a high-profile effort. They were, that's one of the shows I think I told the story before, though, about being at the panel for Sunrise at Anime Boston in 2013. Yes. And they're like, wait, people have seen Five Brain? What the hell? But they were also a little surprised that people had seen Valvrave, which surprised me because the licensor for Valvrave downstairs was pushing it pretty damn hard.
Yeah.
Downstairs in the dealer's room. Like, they had cardboard cutouts and banners and such.
Yeah. It was definitely a show they pushed.
Yeah. Shows that didn't need much pushing. Udapri 2000%! I would just like to point out, Udapri is fairly marginal in the West, but it's done well enough in Japan that it's had multiple TV series, and it's getting a movie soon.
Is it marginal in the West?
Yeah. I know it is enough that later seasons didn't get home releases.
Oh.
They didn't bother with them.
I'm actually somewhat surprised at that. Maybe they just couldn't find the audience for it?
Yeah.
Maybe because it's bad. No.
Well, it's worth pointing out the first season was on, what was it called? When Nico had the English language site.
Yes.
So it was on there, so it had kind of a difficult battle uphill from a Western perspective, having aired in such a niche place. Anyway, this is season 2, which they've all graduated from high school, so wait, how are we going to continue this? Oh, because now they're in the entertainment industry. But wait, there's a rival idol group, and they're almost all assholes. Why are they so mean? Oh, and they're supposed to be the mentors for our poor young men. But they're assholes. What do? We have another season of a lot of really bad pop music and bright colors.
Very.
You can see that the budget was kicked up a fair bit for this season. I want to say the first season, like, per volume average was probably in the high teens. Like 18,000 per disc, which is pretty solid showing. This is probably one of the more successful Otome adaptations.
The most successful.
I'd have to sit down and give it a lot of thinking.
I don't think anything comes close.
Again, I'd have to sit down and give it a lot of thought because I suspect there might be some other things. Okay. Hakuoki.
Yes.
Hakuoki's done pretty damn well, and in fact, I think it's getting a stage play. Another stage play.
Okay, maybe Hakuoki.
So Hakuoki is probably comparable. I don't know if its disc sales were as good, but anyway. Udapri, love it.
Most of the rest of this season is, fairly forgettable.
So there's Red Data Girl, which I only wanted to bring up because it led to oh man, you gotta love Twitter, you gotta love anime fans, you gotta love the people of Reading, England.
You gotta love local news.
So Red Data Girl's, the tag that a lot of people were using for it on Twitter was RDG, and the town of Reading, England got upset because they claimed this was their official tag.
Yeah.
Hashtag, that is. So then there ended up being a minor battle between
the people
anime
of Reading.
weebs and the people of Reading, so much so that I actually got quoted in the Reading News. Incorrectly, but I was.
Local news.
Otherwise, that was kind of forgettable.
I watched some of Moromi-san, which was...
yeah.
One of these, it's show about...
It's weird.
It's about a girl who's a mermaid and hangs out with a dude, and then that's about it.
Yeah, it's one of those weird comedies.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really funny enough.
No, it's mostly notable for one of those ones that, like, Sakaga people go nuts over.
Wasn't there something involving something odd being eaten?
Possibly. I don't know.
I swear that was a bit of a thing, but it's been a long time.
There's the one about this one, Ketsu.
Oh, Ketsuaki Garakun. This is about anthropomorphized blood types.
Yes.
I know Akira Ishida was in it.
And you didn't watch it?
I did watch it.
Oh,
That's the only reason we're mentioning it, because it wasn't licensed. No one else watched this. I watched it. It's fine. It's a comedy. It's shorts. It's fine. It's not anything particularly memorable. It was mildly funny, sometimes a little bit annoying, but yeah, it didn't get licensed anywhere. Akira Ishida's in it. If you're into that
if you're
kind
into
of thing.
that, as you are.
Well, in the anime of my life, he's gonna voice me.
Who's gonna voice me then?
I don't know. Who do you want to voice you?
Akira Ishida.
No.
Oh.
Oh my god, you're totally not the type of character he plays.
Darn.
Although, never mind.
Alright, I think,
what about Sparrow's Hotel, which is another short? This was unbelievably awful.
Sparrow's Hotel is notable for they made a joke. They had deliberately terrible animation up until like episode 7 where they said, oh, we need to give this hotel a spruce up or something like that. And then the animation changed to actually be good. Yes, that is actually, and it's based out the reason.
It's about a woman who is a receptionist at a hotel. She's the front desk worker, and she has big boobs.
The entire reason the show exists is to make that joke in episode 7.
Probably.
Crime Edge, Dancy Brunry.
Other things that are bad?
Yeah, which is mostly notable for being A, terrible, and B, including lots of hair cutting fetishes. Very strange.
I thought he was also into nails.
I think that might have been another character.
Oh god, it's so hard to keep track.
And then there was Turning Girls, which I don't remember. You saw or
I haven't, and I feel like I should have by this point. It's about women who are turning 30, and basically their angst over like, wait, I'm turning 30, but I haven't done anything with my life. Oh crap!
It's another one of these crappily animated flash shorts, but by Trigger.
Yeah.
Because this is fairly soon after
Inferno Cop.
Inferno Cop, so like, and they put this up on their YouTube channel. I do know people who are like really into this.
Yeah, people really dug this, and someday I'll watch it.
Yeah.
I just haven't yet.
But Inferno Cop was enough for me, and that'll be the end of this season. Long episode, busy season actually. Well, I think a lot of the movies.
I think we ended up just talking a lot about stuff that was related, but not really key to anime, like Squeedly Spooch and the Angry Beavers.
Squeedly Spooch. That day, Squeed Beaver kind of received a grim reminder.
Alright, well, we'll catch you next week, folks.
That was fun.
I know what you should use as the outro music.
What?
The Angry Beavers theme song.
We're not using the Angry Beavers theme song.
Why not?
We're using because we got Attack on Titan.
Why not?
We've got the Flowers of Evil.
Okay, can I bring it up again in a future episode and you'll use it?
If we have literally nothing else good.
You're the worst.
It's not an anime.
So what?
Bye.